inspiratie. Iemand waar je 100% pen en papier bij moet hebben. Maar nog belangrijker is, maak foto's van die slides die hij heeft. Want als het jou al inspireert, inspireert het ook de mensen om je heen. Het is een ongelofelijke eer om deze meneer in ons midden te hebben. Dus we doen hem ook echt tekort als we straks blijven zitten als we hem naar voren halen. Dus ik zou ook straks jullie willen vragen om op het moment dat ik hem aankondig en naar voren haal, allemaal te gaan staan en hem de erkenning te geven die hij verdient voor het feit dat hij uit Londen hier is gekomen om deze informatie met ons te delen. Kunnen we daarvan op aan? Yes. Oké, super. Dan wil ik nu graag jullie aandacht. Belangrijkste trouwens is dit. Dit is denk ik op dit moment de nummer 1 senior vice president van Europa. Een van de opkomende beste senior vice presidents ter wereld, zover ik weet. Hij is een Circle of Champions member. Dat wil zeggen dat hij ook meebeslist in het bedrijf. Ik ga het ook niet langer maken dan dat het nu is. Laten we hem alsjeblieft naar voren halen. Niemand minder dan Circle of Champions member, Senior Vice President Ahmed Mukhtar!
Thank you. How's everyone doing?
Great.
Okay, I just want to make sure that everyone can hear me. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Let me make sure. The guy at the back, could you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome, really good. You see, I mean, every time I go to visit my mother, right, here's what she tells me. You know, she says, son, you only have 2 volumes, loud and extra loud, right? So I have a very loud voice. That's an advantage today, given that we have this big room and, you know, I just hope everyone can hear me. If at any point throughout my information, if my volume does reduce, just give me a hand wave telling me to speak louder. Is that a good deal? Yes. Awesome. But I'm really, really excited to be here in the Netherlands. You know, for me, I always say Netherlands and Paris is like my second home. Like, it really, really is, because they are the places that since I started my ACN journey that I probably visited the most. You know, I come to Holland or Netherlands at least twice or maybe even 3 times a year because of the relationship that I built with the leaders here. And I really, really believe that you have absolute incredible leadership in the Netherlands right now. People that you really, really want to take a page from their book and really, really learn from. And I remember when Mr. Danny Balogun, he approached me at the Barcelona convention and he said, you know, we would love to have you in Holland. And I said, look, you don't even need to say it. Tell me the date and I'm there. So this is how much respect and admiration and love that I have for these leaders. And I think all the RVPs from, you know, Dio Kassaline to Danny Balogun to, you know, Mr. Arsos Harsen, our Senior Vice President, to Martin Doubled and any other leaders that I've missed out. I know Sam is currently here as well. So really, I really believe you guys have great, great leaders to really learn from. And you know, here's one thing I learned in my ACN journey, because when I first started in ACN in the UK, there wasn't many leaders. In fact, at the time, I think there was probably 4 or 5 regional vice presidents. There was no senior vice president. And the challenges that we faced when I first started was that there wasn't any weekly system. I mean, think about this. The word system, SYSTEM, think about it. Save yourself serious time, energy, and money. If you're part of a system, half of the work is already done for you. Think about this for a second. In the Dutch market currently, you have a weekly event every single week. And what's amazing is, it doesn't matter what the weather's like outside. It doesn't matter what's going on in their private lives. It doesn't matter what's going on in your life. It doesn't matter how many people show up. But guess what? The events are always happening. And when I first started, I asked my mentor, what do I need to do to become successful in this business? Here's what he said to me. He said, Ahmed, follow the system. Follow the system. And he said, never miss an event. And I promise you, I wrote down those words, not on a paper, not in my mind. I wrote down those words in my heart. In my heart, every time, I never missed an event. Listen to me carefully. There was times God is my witness that I was absolutely broke. I never missed an event. I never missed one event since I started ACN. Now, the only way I will miss an event is if I'm traveling and speaking at another event. I never miss an event. Think about that. So, and one thing you all have in a Dutch market right now, I promise you, if you can plug into the system, you won't get left behind. You see, the way I see ACN is like a freight train. And a freight train is trains that they used to have back in the day, because back in the day, technology wasn't as advanced as it is right now. So what they used to do is, they used to build trains, and they used to slant the tracks a little bit down so the train can go straight down. Because there wasn't technology to move it with electronical, appliances like we have today. So back then, there was freight trains. And for me, I promise you, ACN is like a freight train going downhill with no brakes. Now, it's up to you. There will be some people that will miss the train. There will be some people that get on the train and they get off the train. And there is some people that will buckle up, they'll lock the key, and they'll throw it away. So as long as you don't miss this train and you plug into the weekly events, I promise you, if you promote the events, the event will promote you. It's a fact. So when I started ACN in 2013, prior to ACN, in fact, I was working just as an average retail manager. And my entire life growing up, what my parents had instilled in me from a young age is, Ahmed, we all hear it all the time. Go to school. Get yourself an education. Because my parents are immigrants. I'm originally from Somalia, right? And when my parents migrated from Africa and they came into Europe, the only thing they knew, because their qualifications there wasn't recognized here. So the only thing they knew is, get yourself an education. Don't do what we did. Because my father for over 20 years was a bus driver. And my mother did various things. Literally various things. Cleaning, to dry cleaning, to walking people's children to school to make a living, to looking after people's children to make a school for a living. She was baking cakes, traditional sweets, selling them on. She did everything she can to put food on the table for us. But here's what was crazy. As hard as my parents had worked, they didn't even make 3,000 euros a month combined. Let me ask you a question. How many people know someone today that's busy? By raising hands. How many people know people that are busy? Keep your hands raised if you know someone who works so hard but they're still broke. Right? Think about that for a second. I promise you, right? We all know those people. So what my parents have told me from a young age is, go to school, get an education, which I did. I graduated from university in 2009, 2010. And when I graduated, I ended up working for a retail company called Marks and Spencer's. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, but they're a large company. They're out in the UK. They're in 49 countries today. And I started there as a sales advisor. And when I was a sales advisor, I rapidly got promoted in the company. I worked very, very hard. I showed up on time. I stayed late. I was honestly your dream employee. Because everything I've done in my life, I always put 100%. I don't know 99%, because for me, 99% is like 0%. I mean, think about this for a second. It's either you're pregnant or you ain't, yes? You can't be 99% pregnant. You can't, am I right? I became a father 7 months ago. When I said to my wife, are you pregnant? She never said, I think so, 99%. She said, I'm pregnant, right? Just imagine if you did a pregnancy test and they said, you're pregnant 99% though. Think about this. So the point I'm trying to make is 99% is like 0%. No one runs the Olympics. You see, when Usain Bolt was running in the Olympics, he did things that the human body, people didn't even believe it could be done. And he was 4-time Olympic champion. Not once was he asked, are you going to win the race? Not once did he say, I think so, 99%. Every time he said, 100% I'm going to win. So when I first started this business, you see, I put my 100% into everything in life. And I was working hard as a retail manager, and I found myself working almost 80 hours a week. I was tired of my life. Now, some of you, you might see ACN, and you don't realize the value of what you have. Do you know why? ACN is only 500 euros. Now I promise you, every single one of us that got started, not one of us had to sell our houses to start ACN. Not one person. Not one person. What's the number one need we need? We need a roof over our head. Not a single one of us sold our houses to start ACN. Let me ask you a question. What if you had to sell your house to start ACN? I promise you'll take this very seriously. But because it's only a 500 euro business, it is not gonna, I'll give you an example. If today you lost 500 euros, no one's gonna really suffer a heart attack. No one is gonna suffer any type of problems from losing 500 euros. You'll be upset for a little while, but then you eventually move on. But let me ask you a question. What if every single one of you in this room, if you invested into this business 500,000 euros, I promise you, you would have been here yesterday. Well, why are you 24 hours early? I'm waiting for the event. I invested 500,000, right? Think about that for a minute. But I promise you, some people see this much more than a 500,000 opportunity. Listen to me carefully, because today I'm going to be honest, I didn't prepare much slides. I wanted to really have a direct conversation with every single one of you. When I started ACN, I was working 80 hours a week. I was tired of my life. I really wanted to make a change. Every time, listen to me carefully, when I was working in retail and I'm serving someone on the till, on the counter, I would look at anyone who looks good, who's wearing a suit. And do you know what I would ask them? Excuse me, sir, I'm just wondering, do you have an opportunity for me? I would give them, think about this, I would give them very good service just so I can ask for an opportunity. And I would ask people all the time, excuse me, what do you do for a living? I work in a bank. Why? I'm a CEO of a bank. No, I'm just curious. You look very good, so, you know, I'm always into business and, you know, I'm looking for something. And I would ask them, do you have any vacancies? Is there anything I can do? And do you know what they'll tell me? Well, if you go on our website and you send in your resume, your CV, maybe you can get a breakthrough, right? Every one of them used to tell me that. You know why? I was hungry for an opportunity. Now let me tell you something. Do you know how many people are out there today and they are waving a flag to every single one of us every day that we cannot even see? Do you know how many people today that are dying? I promise you, I was thinking about this today. And here's what I was thinking about today. As I came out my hotel room, I'm on, you know, I'm staying in a hotel. I'm not going to say in case any of you try to kill me or something. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm staying at this hotel. And I'm on the 6th floor. So what I did today, before I went to the gym, I just walked around the floor. And when I walked around the floor, what was crazy is there are 44 rooms on that one floor. And then I walked around to see who's cleaning the rooms in the floor, because I wanted a towel to go to the gym. And there was one lady cleaning the floor. And I started speaking to her. I started saying, "Madam, how are you today?" She said, "I'm well, thank you." And she said, "Do you know, in this whole week, you're the first person to ask me how I am." And I started speaking to her. I asked her, "Tell me a bit about you." I said, "What's your name? How long have you been working here?" She said she's been working there for 8 years. And I said, "Are you cleaning this whole floor by yourself?" She said, "Yes. I promise you, I saw the size of my bed. It's pretty big. For me to change that bed, even though she has more experience than me, even though I'm a man and I might not be that good at changing a bed, for example, and I don't have the experience she has, right? I just calculated and said to clean my room will probably take her a good 30, 40 minutes, at least. And she's got to clean it times 41. And I said, "Is it full?" She said, "It's a full house today. Look at the list." I said, "How long will it take you to clean this floor?" She said, "Well, it will take me about 8 hours." I said, "Let me ask you a question. I mean, maybe it's me. I don't know. But I promise, listen, I help my wife to tidy up. And when I do the duvet, and you put it in and you're trying to get all the angles to match each other and put the thing in and you're trying to do this and you do it again and you do it again. That takes a lot of work, yes? And after I'm sweating, I'm like, whew. And then my wife's like, you see what I've got to do every time? I'm like, trust me, honey, I'm not complaining, right? Now think about this. And I was just thinking in my head, I know how much pressure one takes. Imagine doing that every day, 40 hours a week. Not every other day, not when she feels like it, not when she's feeling good or not, whether she has a marriage problem, whether she's coughing, sneezing, as long as she shows up, she has to work and do that. Think about that. And I simply, I said to her, listen, I'm going to be in town until tomorrow. I'm going to arrive back to the hotel a bit later. I'm leaving tomorrow morning. I'm going to Germany. I said, tomorrow morning I would love to have coffee with you just so I can show you what we're doing. She said, can I? And I said, I promise you, I can show you a way you can change your life around if you're serious. If you're willing to work hard, if you have 500 euros and you're willing to listen and learn, I promise you I can help you change your life around. Do you know what she said? She said, I'll pay 1,000 euros if you can help me. I said, we don't need 1,000. Here's what I said to her. I said, we don't need 1,000. All we need is 500 euros. If you're ready, I can teach you. Let me ask you a question. Do you know how many people are out there today that need this opportunity? But do you know the only problem is? We don't ask. Listen to me carefully. A baby, how does a baby tell you they're hungry? They cry. And I promise you, if you don't feed them, they continue crying. They never stop. You can never say, I'm going to wait till they get tired. Trust me, they'll cry for 6 hours straight until you feed them. Think about this. Human beings, I wish we were like babies at times. We just take what we're given. Some of us are crying inside. We are crying, praying for something. You know how many people out there today that are waving a flag, but you just cannot see it? You know why? Your baggage is in the way. Listen, last week I was in Colombia. Last weekend, the last 12 days, last week, 12 days I was in Colombia. And before that I was in the south of France. Today I'm in Holland, tomorrow I'm in Germany, and that's me done for the year in traveling. I've traveled a lot this year. But then, when I was in Colombia, one thing that just came to my mind. Now imagine, okay, in Colombia I was there for 12 days, so I had a lot of dirty clothes. Now imagine, what do? We go home, we unpack, we wash our clothes, we repack, then we go on the next journey, yes? Now imagine if I had the same clothes, the dirty clothes, and I brought them to Holland with me and I re-wore them again. Most of you will be like, continue speaking. Am I right? Because I'm bringing the same old baggage with me into Holland. Does that make sense? Now, most of our minds are like that. We change our baggage. We change our clothes. We wash our clothes. But most of us don't even change our minds. Listen, we upgrade our iPhones. We upgrade our laptops. We upgrade our houses. We upgrade our cars. But we don't upgrade ourselves. Think about this. And the reality is, old ways will never open new doors. It's the truth. Imagine how many people out there, guys, I promise you, that are praying for something like this. Listen to me carefully. This was myself when I used to work. This is where I grew up my whole life, and this is where I, lived. And then this was me working in retail, praying for something to come my way. And when ACN was given to me, and they said to me, look, it's a business model that you can work for yourself. You can work from home. You can take your time. Some people will become successful quickly. Some people will take long. It doesn't matter. But as long as you're willing to work hard and you don't give up, you can become successful. As long as you work hard and you're not willing to give up, you can become successful. Listen to me carefully. One thing that you see on the SVP or RVP or COC pin, you know one thing you don't see? You never see how long it took you. It never says Ahmed Mukhtar, 5 years, or Danny Balogun, 2 years. It never says that. What does it say? It says nothing. So it doesn't matter. I mean, think about this. Colonel Sanders, the founder of KFC, he started KFC when he was 78 years old. 78 years old. He started Kentucky Fried Chicken. He started off in a stand somewhere, frying chicken. People loved this chicken. He invented it into an idea. He failed many times before that. And today we all know what KFC did. And that's the same thing that happened to me when I first started ACN. And I remember going to my first convention in 2013. And I sat there for the very first time. And I sat there and I sincerely wanted to change my life around. I saw people from all around the world, different cultures, different backgrounds. different educational levels, different genders, and every single one of them, I was absolutely blown away by the promotions. In that weekend, I saw Danny get promoted to RVP. No lie, I was sitting there, I was at ETT, I saw him get promoted to RVP. Think about this. You never know whose story is going to inspire who. When I saw him and I said, this guy's from Holland, young guy like myself. And I saw the success he was having. I said, man, I can do this. I can do this. So every single one of you, people are looking at you. How many people have had people say no to them about ACN by raise of hands? Now, do you know what those people are looking at? You can either make them do two things. You can make them say, I'm glad I didn't do it. If you quit, do you know what I would be thinking if you quit and you try to invite me to ACN? I would be thinking, I'm glad I didn't do it. You know why? So-and-so, they went to all these meetings, all these countries, and they quit at the end. So you can make someone say, I'm glad I didn't waste my time to do it, or you can make someone say something else. I wish I had did it. Imagine the day you're getting promoted to senior vice president. Imagine what the people that said no to you, what they'll be thinking. I should have joined ages ago, yes? And that's what every single one of you have to remember. And when we started building our team and we came back from that convention, this was our first Saturday training. This was our first team Saturday training. And from this little group of people, and look, and I promise you, people don't follow people with money. You know, you don't need to have a nice car for people to follow you, a nice house or a nice lifestyle. No, all you need is vision. People don't follow people with money. People follow people with vision. Do you know what I used to tell people back then? This little group in the house, one day we're going to become this. One day we're going to do this. Trust me, one day many of our lives will be changed. And there was some people at that time that thought we were just saying it for the sake of it. And there were some people that stuck around. And there were some people that quit. Listen, we had a guy show up to our event 3 weeks ago. He came to our event and he approached me after the event. He was in tears. I said, hey man, why are you crying? He said, Ahmed, I came to your event. You don't remember. I came to your event when you used to do events in apartments. I came to your event and today I was just blown away by how much you guys grew. And do you know what happened for us years later, after years of working hard, being focused in ACN? Today we've grown a team of over 55,000 people all around the world. Wow. With almost 20 regional vice presidents. With tens of thousands of customers. A huge residual empire. And we've done that from what? From this apartment. It started off small and today is big. Everything big at one point was small. You know, we've heard the story of McDonald's, for example. You know, McDonald's started from what? A burger stand. Today, 33,500 franchises all around the world. We've seen companies like Uber. They started off as an elite chauffeur company in San Francisco, California. And today, they're the largest taxi company in the world. You see, recently I was reading a story and it really inspired me. And it was a gentleman, his name is Will Shu. And Will Shu, he was a banker in London. And in London, he was making $250,000 every year in his salary. $250,000 every year. He was making £250,000 every single year. And then one day, he went to his boss. And he said to his boss, hey, I'm working on my part-time business and I want to leave this job so I can pursue that. Now think about this for a moment. Here you have a man making $250,000 every single year. He goes to his boss and says, I'm about to leave because I want to pursue my dream, which is my part-time business. So his boss asked him, so how much has your part-time business made so far? He said 0. How many people ask you, how much money have you made in ACN so far? And you're embarrassed to say 0. Don't be embarrassed, it's okay. Because 0 later will be zeros. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? So he said to his boss, he said, I made 0, I made no money. His boss said, are you okay? Like really, he asked him, are you okay? Is there anything wrong? Or is there anything which is causing you to do this? He said, I'm absolutely fine. He said, really? this is my letter of resignation. I want to pursue my business, and this is why I'm handing you this letter. Here's what his boss said. His boss couldn't believe it. Here's what he said. He said, come back to me next week Friday and hand me this letter if you are serious. He said, okay, and he went off. Next week Friday, he went back to his boss and said, this is my letter of resignation. So his boss knew he had a week to think about it. This guy is serious. So he took the letter of resignation, and he was in complete shock, couldn't believe it. And Will Shu left his £250,000 salary banking career, and he left. And one day, on his platform, someone ordered pizza on his platform. So here's what Will Shu did. Will Shu saw that he was familiar with the name. And guess who ordered the pizza? It was his boss. So he went to his boss and hand-delivered the pizza and said, here you go. His boss looked at him and said, I can't believe it. You left this banking career to deliver pizzas. Are you serious? And he said, no. He said, I never leave to deliver pizzas, but I left to build the platform that delivers pizzas. Wow. 8 years later, he is the founder of Deliveroo. They supply to them, just to let you know, they make residual income every time on over 25,000 restaurants in Europe today. 25,000. Think about this. 25,000 restaurants. On average, do you know how much every restaurant does every time? They do 10 orders minimum a day times 25,000. What's 25,000 times 10? 250,000 orders a day. Now let me ask you a question. If it's £10 per order, think about this. Minimum charge on Deliveroo is 10 euros. Minimum. You can't order without 10 euros. So if it's 10 euros per order, there's 250,000 orders a day happening, and you make residual income every single time someone places an order. What would your residual income look like every day? Think about it for a moment. And that's where he is today. So sometimes pursuing your dreams takes sacrifices. People might not understand when you're not making money. People might not see it when it's small. But I promise you, when it's big, everyone will start asking you, so how did you do it? And do you know what happened for us? Years later, after working hard, after being persistent, you know, this is our group today, all around the world, globally distributed. I think my clicker's not working, but it's all good. Okay, I'll press next. Okay, there we go. And oops. There we go. Okay, perfect. Okay, it's working now. It's okay. Okay, really good. Right? And this is our team today, globally, all around the world. But here's the question I want to have for every single one of you, ladies and gents. Imagine when it's your day, and you're getting promoted to senior vice president. You know, what's your story going to be? How many people are you going to inspire? That's the question I want to have for you. So let's speak about you. So, who's here for the very first time? By raise of hands, who's here for the very first time? Okay, so I'm going to choose... you're here for the first time?
Yeah.
You're here for the first time? Don't worry, I'm not going to put you on the spot, right? Yeah, come to the front and dance for us. I'm kidding. Okay, so I want to ask you a question, okay? What do you see in this picture?
Two things.
Okay, I'm not going to ask you then. I'm going to ask someone else. Okay, who's here for the first time? Hey, what do you see in this picture? You see a duck, right? Do you see anything else? And a bunny. Okay, good. Okay. Who else is here for the first time? You. You see a rabbit. Anything else? Okay, but don't tell him. Don't tell him. You see a bunny, right? Now let me ask you a question. This is the bunny, but can you also see the duck?
Yes.
So there's a duck right here. Can you see? If you hide that, there's a duck. Or if you hide that, there's a duck. So here's the point I'm trying to make. So here's the question I want to ask. The question I want to ask every single one of you is, how do you see 200 euros a month in residual income? Now most of us will look at it and say, it's not much money. Just 200 euros a month in residual income. And I promise you, I believe anyone and everyone can do this in ACN by just getting a bunch of customers. But let's just speak about 200 euros, because here's the thing, right? I remember once when I first started ACN, I was in ETT and I went to a leadership event. And the leadership event, the person on the stage, they were speaking about how they had a business that did hundreds of millions in revenue. Now, hundreds of millions in revenue to me back then just didn't make sense. I'm like, to you to about 100 million, let's just speak about a million first, right? Now think about this. And I went up to that person at the end of the event and I walked to them and I said, excuse me sir, how are you? Listen, you know, that figure just didn't add up in my mind. I just didn't understand. Do you mind speaking to me about how you even got to that number? Here's what he said to me. He said, young man, what's your name? I said, my name is Ahmed, very nice to meet you. He said, how much money do you make a month in your job? I said, I make around 2,500 a month in my job. He said, okay. So he said, if I speak about 10,000 a month, your mind can't comprehend it because you're used to just 2,500 a month, right? He said, your mind can't comprehend it, right? It's like, so here's what he said to me. He said, now if you're making 2,500 a month, well, let's start from 1,000. If you're making 1,000 euros a month in your job, let's say, right? And if I come to you and I tell you, hey, you can make 2,000 euros a month, can your mind understand that? Yes, because it's 1,000 pounds more, 1,000 euros more. Now, if you're making 2,000 euros a month, if I now tell you, hey, you can make 4,000 euros a month, your mind can comprehend it. Now, if you're making 4,000, if I tell you you can make 8,000, your mind can comprehend it. If you're making 8, if I tell you 10, you can comprehend it. Now, here's what he said to me. He said, when you start making 10,000 a month, 20,000 is realistic. Now, he said, if when you're making 20,000 euros a month, he said 50,000 is realistic. He said, when you're making 50,000 euros a month, he said, your lifestyle is no different to someone making 100,000 euros a month. And he said, if you're making 100,000 euros a month, he said, your lifestyle is no different to the person making 1 million a month. And I started thinking about it. I said, wow, that's so true. He said, that's how you make 100,000 euros a month. He said, just think about what you're making now and just try to double that every month until you get to the figure that you want to get to. So my question to you is, let's start from 200 euros a month. How do you see 200 euros a month? Now, you might not see it as big money. You might go out on the weekend and probably spend your 200 euros. But let's think about 200 euros a month. 200 euros a month, in a year, that's 2,400 euros, yes? Yes. Now, let me ask you a question. Let's just think about if you did it in 40 years. The life expectancy, the working life expectancy. People work today for around 40 years. So 2,400 euros a year times 40 years is 96,000 euros. Think about it. Your 200 euros residual income every month in 40 years is 96,000 euros. Do you know what you can do with 96,000 euros in Holland? I'll tell you. You can buy this house right here. Let me show you. Right here. You can buy this house. This house in Holland is This house in Holland is 96,000 euros. Think about it for a minute. Why? I searched it online and I found it. Think about that. Now let me ask you a question. The average person today in Holland, do they own their houses? No, they rent it. Why? Or they've got to get what? A mortgage. Now, can I ask you a question? Do you know once you reach around 50 years old, they don't give you mortgage anymore? Do you know why? They say you're more likely to die. This is why they don't give you a mortgage. They give you a mortgage when they know you have 40 years of work ahead of you. When you got 40 years left in your tank. Now, what does the word mortgage mean? It resigns from the Greek word morti. What does morti mean? It means death. So most people die before they finish their mortgage. And that's the opportunity, guys. That's the opportunity we're sold. Go to school, get an education, get a good job, walk on the pavements, go get yourself a mortgage so you can pay it, but you die before you finish it, or you probably finish when you're about to die. So the minute you die, if you paid it off, you own it, and if you haven't paid off, who owns it?
The bank.
The bank. Now, isn't that just a legit business right there? Think about it for a moment. Isn't it just legit? Wow. And when people tell me ACN's a scam, I'm like, whoa, let's talk, right? Think about it for a moment. That's 200 euros a month. That's the way we see it. Now let me ask you a question. What about if you are making every single month 400 euros? Just 400 euros. 400 euros a month, guys, is 192,000 in 40 years. What about if you were making 800 euros a month? In 40 years, that's almost 400,000. Think about it for a moment. It's 382,000 euros if you were just making 800 euros a month. What about 1,000 euros a month? Think about it. What about if you were making like 1,000 euros? That's 400,000 in 40 years. What about if you were making 10,000? That's 4 million in 40 years. Let me ask you a question. Do people today even make 4 million in their lifetime? I promise you, look at your mum, your dad's lives. Look at their lives today. Look at it right now. Then figure out how much they were earning a year. Times that by the amount of years that they worked for. I promise you, the average person doesn't even make 1 million euros. But if you built a business in ACN that pays you 10,000 euros a month, in 40 years, that's 4 million. Now imagine you don't even live for 40 years, but you only live for 10. That's £1 million in 10 years you would make. Now where do people do that in their jobs? But we don't realize, we only see it as a 500 euro opportunity. Listen to me carefully. I heard a wise man once say, he said, the way average people look at it is average people think about how much is it going to cost me. Wealthy people, they think about how much am I going to learn from it and gain from it and attain from it. Can you see the difference? Yes. Average people always ask, how much is it going to cost me? Wealthy people think about, how much is it going to value me? How much am I going to attain from it? How much is it going to make me? How much is it going to sustain me? That's what they think about. Have you noticed when you go to these wealthy brands and wealthy designers, they don't have a price tag? Have you noticed that? They don't have a price tag. Why? Because people that look at price tags shouldn't even be there. It's the reality. Right? They don't look at the price tag. Do you know why? Because think about it. The people that are shopping there don't look at price tags. They look at the value. They look, how long is the shoes going to hold me? How long is this going to hold me? This is why they go there. So let's speak about why ACN. Why ACN? And look at the timing. Because in everything in life, it's about timing. And it's about why ACN. Well, number one, the number one thing I tell people all the time is, we are networking every day. Think about this. When you go on Instagram right now, I guarantee you most of you got a like from someone. And let me ask you a question. Who posted on their social media this week? Just by raise of hands. Right? Just by raise of hands. Okay, perfect. In fact, if you posted on your social media this week, just stand up for me. Just look at this for a moment. Just stand up for a minute. Okay. Okay, we've got to keep very quiet, okay? Guys, we've got to keep very quiet because the thing is, we don't have a mic, so I need to make sure you can all hear me. Okay. Now listen to me carefully, okay? Sit down. Wait, don't sit down yet. But sit down. No, in fact, stay standing if someone you did not know liked your post. So stay standing if someone you did not know liked your post. Stay standing. Okay. So someone you didn't know liked your post. Okay. Someone you didn't know liked your post. Someone you didn't know liked your post. Stay standing. Okay. Think about this. Do you know the point I'm trying to make? Now you may sit down. Thank you very much. So every single one of you, someone you did not know liked your post. Do you know the point I'm trying to make here? We network every day with people we don't know. Think about this. We network with people every day that we don't know. Here's the reason why. You see, I was reading something very, very interesting. And there's a gentleman and his name is Fringus Corinthian. Here's what he said. He said, everyone in the world, everyone in the world are 6 or a few steps away from each other. Every person in the world is 6 steps away from each other. Just 6 people. So have you heard the saying, a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend? Yeah. Guess what? Any person you want to know in the world, there are just 6 people between you and any other person in the world. So I'll give you an example. Who is the prime minister or the president of Holland? Who is he? What's his name? Sorry, you guys. Mike, Mark, Rutte. I like it. Even the R, they make it sound like it's a bread. Rutte. It sounds like a bread coming out of the oven. What is that? Rutte, right? Okay. So Mark Rutte, right? So check this out. I promise you, between you and him, there's 6 people. I promise you. You might know someone who knows someone who knows someone who's well connected, who knows the cousin of the wife of Mark Rutte, and then who knows the wife and who you know him. Between you and any person in the world, there's 6 people. Think about this, and especially with today's social media, it's never, ever been this easy. Think about the timing of ACN right now. Think about it. What are we doing right now? We are expanding this company globally. We launched our 26th country in Colombia. 26th country in Colombia. We're about to launch Peru. And then so we have 3 phases today. We have 3 phases in South America, so get ready. So in phase 1 in South America, we launch Colombia. The next country is Peru. And guess what the 3rd country is? Brazil. Woo! Brazil. ACN's gonna open Brazil. Guys, do you know how many people live in Brazil? They are one of the largest emerging economies in the world. In Brazil, there are over 200 million people that live in Brazil. Now walk with me for a second. Just walk with me for a second. ACN today, as credible as they are, in the last 5 years, we did 4 billion in revenue. As large as we are, as great of a company we are, the world's largest direct seller of telecoms, energy, essential services in the world, as large as we are, we haven't even touched the surface yet. Here's the reason why. Who is the largest population in the world? What is the largest population in the world? It's China. Let me ask you a question. How many people know a Chinese person? What is the #1 spoken language in the world? It's Mandarin. It's Mandarin. It's #1 spoken language in the world. That's the #1 populated country in the world. 1.5 billion people live in China. ACN is not even in China yet. Imagine when we are. Think about the 2nd largest population in the world is where? India. 1.3 billion people live in India. We are not even in India yet. Let me tell you something. There was another network marketing company, and I swear to you and I promise, and I don't want to badmouth any company, but their products are useless. No one needs it. What are we providing? Energy. Essentials that people need and use every day. How important is energy? Tell me one person that doesn't use energy today. Tell me one person that says, no, gas and electric, I don't need it, I don't use it. Tell me one person. There isn't one. Now imagine, right? Think about this. This company, they sold products that people don't even need. No word of a lie. In their first event in India, do you know how many people showed up? 40,000 people came to their first event. Think about this. In Mumbai, which is one city in India, there are 189 million people in that one city. That is almost 1/3 of whole of Europe in one city. They have 1/3 of Europe in one city. Think about this for a second. We haven't even launched India yet. Think about Africa. How many people live in Africa? 1.2 billion people live in Africa. We are not even in one country in Africa yet. Think about in Europe. We still got over 20 countries to launch in Europe alone. So as big of a company we are, we haven't even grown. Let me just share something with you guys. In the 1950s, the world's population was 2.6 billion in 1950s. In 1980s, almost just less than 30 years ago, 28 years ago, 1980s, the world population was 4 billion. In 1980s, 28 years ago, 28 years later, there are 7.8 billion people. 2.8 billion people extra. No, sorry, 3.8 billion people extra arrived 28 years later. In 2050, the world's population is going to be almost 11 billion. Guys, those people have to go somewhere. Those people are looking for an opportunity. So here's the reality: they're gonna either join your downline or they'll join someone else's. Guaranteed. Why? We see where the world's going. And that's the opportunity we have. So imagine one day, just imagine, just think, just visualize this for a moment one day. You go on holiday, you go to Japan, or you go to China, or you go to India, or you go to Nigeria, or you go to Jamaica, or you go to, I don't know, Russia. And someone who's at the immigration looks at your passport and says, oh, hey, what's your name? Hayden, right?
Hayden.
And sorry, Hayden?
Amy.
Okay, Amy. And imagine Amy, they look at your passport and say, Amy, are you the Amy, the SVP of ACN? No way, I'm in your downline. Just imagine. No word of a lie. I was in the UK, I can't remember where I was going. This was earlier this year. I was at the security, at the airport, and there was one guy, he got my bag and he looked at me, he said, oh, Ahmed Mukhtar. Oh, I said, hey, how are you, man? How you doing? Like, where do we know each other from? That's what I'm thinking in my head, right? And he said, I'm in your team in ACN. I said, whoa, really? Right? Nice to meet you. I said, how are your energy customers doing? Right? Think about that. The point I'm trying to make is a day will come where you have people in your team that you don't even know. But that's the vision you have to have. But how does it start? You have to build strong locally. Listen to me carefully. If you have a restaurant in Netherlands and it sucks, would you expand that restaurant into New York? No. You're not going to open it somewhere else because it doesn't work in Netherlands, so it's not going to work in New York. Simple. Right? Right? So the point I'm trying to make is the same thing with ACN. If you have no one in the Netherlands, you have no business in the Netherlands, how can you even think global? But here's what you've got to do. Every single one of you in this room, you've got to build strong locally. Make a presence locally so your business can grow globally. You can inherit and be the benefactors of everything which is to come. Trust me when I say, today you are at the beginning of the beginning. You're at the movie when they're showing the trailers. You haven't even arrived at the movie yet. You are at the beginning of the beginning. Think about this for a second. In 1890, before they even made the first car, there was a man. They called him crazy. You know his name was Henry Ford. And he said he made the first automobile, the first car. Do you know what people said in 1890? What is this? He said it's a car. They said, who would want to drive this? Because why? Cars back then, it went 4 miles an hour. You guys use kilometers in Holland? So it's 8 kilometers. Cars back then, it went around 6 to 8 kilometers maximum an hour. It took so much space and it took so much petrol, gasolina, so much petrol. People would say, why do I want to drive this? I have a horse. And horses were common then. It was ridden by everyone. Do you know what Henry Ford said? He said, one day, a day will come where people will say the opposite, where people will say, why do you have a horse and not a car? But today you're telling me, why do you have a car and not a horse? He said, my vision is one day, a day will come where people say, why do you have a horse and not a car? Today, if you saw someone in a horse on the highway, right, and they had a horse, what would you think? Why don't they just get a car? Think about it. That was his vision. Who's the world's largest car company today? It's Ford Motors. They own many subsidiary companies because of what? One man's vision. Why? He built strong locally. And here's the reality, guys. When you are first, when you are a pioneer, you're always going to have the most challenges. What do I mean by this? When you are first, you're going to have the most stones thrown at you. Why? It's alien to everyone. It's the reality. So today in Holland, people are familiar with a job, but they're skeptical about network marketing because network marketing is not familiar. But I promise you, your kids is not going to be what job do you have, it's going to be what network marketing company are you a part of. A day will come, I promise you, where that's going to be the case. You know, I'll give you an example. In the 1940s, all the bathrooms, the toilets, they were outside the house. So think about this. You wake up, you wanna go have a number one, right? You have to go outside the house, do your business in the cold, go back in and try and get back some sleep. Now today when I tell you, you're laughing. In 1940s, can you imagine? There was a gentleman's name. His name was Tom. I think it's Tom Eriks or Tom Griffiths. I can't remember which one. But in 1950s, He was knocking people's houses. And he said, "Madam, sir, I have an opportunity for you." The opportunity is, and they used to call the toilets outside the house, they used to call it an outer house. So the outer house was known that it smells. In the summer when the sun hits, it's disgusting. So no one really used to go there until they needed to defecate or do a number one. Does that make sense? So here's what he said. "Madam, sir, I have an opportunity for you. My vision and my opportunities, I want to bring your outer house to bring it into your house." You know what people said? Hell no. You're going to bring that thing into my home? Hell no. I'm not with it. Why? He was a pioneer. Now let me ask you a question. When was the last time, if you even seen a toilet outside a home? If you came to my house and the toilet was outside, what would you think? Why? What are you doing? Right? So the point I'm trying to make is, when you are a pioneer, the disadvantage is you have the most stones thrown at you. But the advantage is you make the most money. Is the reality. And this is how all these multi-billion-pound companies, such as Armitage Shanks, they are today the #1 sink and plumbing supplier in the world. That's how they came about. Because why? Because of one person's vision. So that's what you have to have your eyes on. Think about the world and how small it's become. The world has never been this small. Today on WhatsApp alone, do you know on WhatsApp alone, there are 49 billion messages sent on WhatsApp every day. There are 4.5 billion photos and videos sent on WhatsApp every day. Listen to me carefully. My mother and father, they never knew how to use a phone 10 years ago. I swear to you, my dad is the pioneer of iPhones today. He knows everything, sends me videos every day. Think about that. Why? The world has never been this small. I mean, think about this. Before, you couldn't even see someone in another country. Now you want to see someone, you can FaceTime them as if you live with them. Think about this. Before, boardroom meetings, people used to do boardroom meetings. Why? So they can discuss things. Now it's not even necessary. Why? We've got Zoom technology. Do a boardroom meeting from your home. So what I'm trying to say is, it's never been this easy to present ACN and network marketing ever in the history of the world. Before, you have to do one-on-ones and do home presentations and so on. Now you can just say, get all your people on Zoom and let me present to them. The world has never ever been this small. And think about what's taking place today. You know, everything today is being replaced with machinery, yes? Think about the supermarket. There's machines. When I landed in Holland, I went to a machine, put my passport in, the machine scanned my face and it let me through. 10 years ago, there was people. And do you know how many members of staff were there? Just one. Only one lady, she was just there. That's it. One lady just like, hey, go to this machine, hey, go to this machine. But 10 years ago, there was 10, 20, 30 people employed there, yes? Now let me ask you a question. What happened to all those people? What happened to their jobs? Their jobs have become obsolete. Now let me ask you a question. Those people that lost their jobs, did they have families to feed? Yes. Did they have mortgages? Yes. Did they have people to take care of? Yes. Did they have children that depended on them? Yes. But where's their jobs today? It's gone. Why? Because of machines. Now why are people bringing in machines to replace human beings? You know why? Have you noticed what a human being sees? Have you heard the saying before? Oh, I'm sorry, my mistake, I made a mistake. That's human beings for you. A human being might look at something, they might look at a number, and they might think the 9 is a 6, or they might think the 6 is a 9, or the 7 is a 1. Because we're human beings, but machines don't see it that way. Like, how does, I mean, think about this. A human being can look at your passport, and if you have a twin, they'll mistake you for the twin. But a machine will never make that mistake. Why? They look at your cheekbones. Why? Your cheekbones is one part of the body that can never be changed. Think about it. They look at the gap in between your eyes, and your eyeballs and also your DNA can never ever be duplicated by anyone else. That's the power of machines. Shall I tell you why people are getting machines to replace you? I'll tell you why. Machines don't have family problems. Simple. Machines don't show up to work late. Machines don't get pregnant and they don't impregnate. Right? Machines ain't gonna come to you and say, excuse me, sir, toilet break is needed. They don't need a toilet break. They don't need a lunch break. Machines are there consistent. And this is why employers are spending millions of pounds to look for a way to replace you. And that's where the job security is going. So the reality is, ladies and gents, there is no job security. This is why the timing has never, ever, ever been this good. So here's what I want to finish off today's event with. I want to finish off with what is your environment doing to you? Here's the reality. An environment can do three things to you. So my question to you is, number one, and think about this, the environment I'm referring to is, I'm referring to your job. Why? Your job, do you know, your job is the number one environment that molds you into the person you're going to become now and in the future. I'll give you an example. Have you noticed lecturers at university, outside of their job, they use very sophisticated words. Why? They always have this scholarly nature about them where they use these high sophisticated words. Why? That's their profession. Have you noticed nurses are very caring even outside of the working environment? Have you noticed politicians? They speak a lot of beep beep even outside of their job, right? Have you noticed? So the reality is your job molds you into the person you are. So let me give you an example. What is your environment doing to you? Because think about this. If you just work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and you live until you're 78 years old, you're going to spend 18 years inside your job. If you work 8 hours a week, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and you live until you're 78, which is the average life expectancy in Netherlands, you will spend 18 years inside your job. Now, how long does it take something to become a habit? It takes 60 to 90 days. That's what scientists say. So in 18 years of doing something, it molds you into becoming the character that you're going to be. So my question is your environment, number one, it can grow you. Or number two, here's what it can do, right? Number two, it can either just maintain you. Or number three, it can do this. It can kill you. Very, very simple. It's one of the three. So what is your environment doing to you? That's my question. And I'm telling every single one of you to make this business work. You know, you heard newly promoted team coordinator that, Danny speak about earlier on. And he spoke about his reason why was his parents and so on and so forth. So my question to you is, why ACN? Why are you here? You see, some of you might be here because you might be in some type of financial difficulty, some type of financial situation. I don't know, your reason why might be, you might want more time with your loved ones. You might want more time with your family. You see, some of you, I don't know, your reason why might be, you might want, I don't know, that better quality of life, travel the world more and so on. You see, when I first started ACN, my main reason why was, my parents. I took care of my parents. When I became regional vice president, I was earning enough income that I was able to retire my mother first and then my father second. They haven't worked a day since I became RVP, since 2014. And I promise you, because of ACN, they won't need to work a day in their lifetime. I'll give you an example. My wife, she's a nurse and she specializes in HIV. Since she got pregnant, which was last year with my son, she never go to work. She doesn't need to. I'm just being honest with you. Because what she makes the entire year, I make more every month. Think about it, right? She don't need to work, right? Right? And so the reality is, if she wants to work, she can. I'm not going to say no, but she doesn't need to. Why? Because of choices. Now, trust me, people say money ain't important. Well, you ask that to someone who doesn't have it. They'll tell you. Let me ask you a question. In fact, let me ask you a question, right? Do you know, I was reading a study, and this was very interesting, and it spoke about the number one most common problems in the world. Do you know what the number one most common problem in the world was? It was money. I swear to you, it was money. And I continued reading, and here's what it said. It said money in the UK, I don't know about Europe, but in the UK, almost 100,000 people attempt suicide every year because of money. Think about that. In the UK, there are 86,000 divorces that happen every year because of money. Think about that. So ask that to someone who doesn't have it. Think about this. If I asked you a question right now, how many people have problems? We all will raise our hands because everyone has a problem. If I say you had all the money in the world, how much problems do you have left? Nearly every hand will go down. It's the reality. So I'm not saying money is everything, but money solves a lot of problems. Do you know the number one reason why friendships break up? I swear it's because of money. Someone owed someone money or did something that stemmed from money. It all stems from money. Now I'm not saying money is everything. I promise you, money is money is important, but it's not the number one thing in life. Because because there's the good and there's the ugly.
You know, I know a friend of mine, his net worth is 400 million pounds, which is around 700 million euros is his net worth. But he's gone through 4 divorces. This is his 4th divorce now. He cannot even have a family. Really miserable. He takes sleeping pills to go to sleep. Now look, money is not going to make you happy. We know this. But here's one thing I can tell you is important. So your reason why might be you might want a better quality of life, travel the world more. One of the most beautiful things today is I get to see my son every day. Every day, not every other day, every day. Every morning, wake up with him. As soon as we're done sleeping, we do a little selfie. Every time, right? We do a little video, right? So the reality is that's the beauty. So you might want to have that freedom. How many of you love traveling the world? Your reason why might be to travel the world. You might want that better quality of life. I don't know, guys. Your reason why might be maybe a better home. I don't know. And some of you, some of you might be like me. You might like cars. You might want that dream car of yours. I don't know, right? And here's the reality. Some of you might have money. You might have a home. You might have all the things I just spoke about. But here's the reality. You just might feel like you're just not growing anymore. You just might be sick and tired of being sick and tired. Whatever your why is, write it down. You see, look, one of the things I've always wanted to do is I've always wanted to travel the world. And I said, look, I want to travel the entire world. I want to see as many countries as possible. And I promise you, there were places that I used to look on Google Images that I've seen in real life. And let me tell you something. No matter how sophisticated, no matter how good a phone camera is, do you know what the #1 best camera in the world is? Is the eyes. I promise you, you look at a beautiful view with the eyes and compare it to a phone. You're going to be like, my God, I didn't want to take this picture anymore. It's the reality. How many times have you looked at something, put your camera there and it's absolutely rubbish, right? So the point I'm trying to make is, it's all about seeing and not just seeing online, but actually seeing through your eyes. And that's the key. So that might be your reason why. But my advice to every single one of you, look, when I started this business, I remember, for me, it's all about vision. And I'll just give you some examples here. Take a look at Oprah Winfrey, for example. Fired from her job, and so on and so forth. Today, she's one of the richest women in the world. Take a look at people that built vision like Steve Jobs. I was reading the story of Apple, and it really inspired me like never before. I was just literally reading it 2 days ago. 2 days ago. It was amazing. The story of Steve Jobs when he was fired in 1978. And then what happened was, in 1996, there was an economical crash. And then Apple rehired Steve Jobs. And then in 2001, he created the iPod. And today he is known for being one of the most influential technology, one of the most influential people in advancing technology in the history of the world. But think about this, guys. Here's the reality. This is why I say money is not the most important thing. At the age of 54 in 2009, he passed away. Why did he pass away? Because he had cancer. He had prostate cancer. And he was worth over 60 billion when he died. So if money was everything, it would have saved him. It's not everything, but look at the legacy he left behind. Take a look at Michael Jordan. Missed over 3,000 shots in his career, lost many, many games. But today, he's the #1 icon in basketball in the history of the world. Take a look at like Walt Disney. Was fired, was fired from a newspaper. They told him you lack imagination. Think about where Walt Disney is today. So the main thing you gotta have is vision, guys. Look at Ed Sheeran, for example. You see, when I started ACN, I remember doing PBRs, literally making 0 money. I was driving this car. This was my car before ACN. This was me. And this car, the maximum it drove at the time was 50 miles an hour. 50 miles an hour. And I literally used to press the gas as much as I can. As soon as I go on 45, the whole car starts shaking like an earthquake. This was my car. And then when I used to do PBRs, I used to be so embarrassed that I would park it on the 2nd street so no one sees it. And then people say, so how did you come here? Well, I walked. I'll leave the house. I'll make sure no one see me because I just got some new IBOs. I don't want them to quit because they see the car, you know what I'm saying? I had that dent at the front. I had the bumper at the back with sellotape, literally sellotaped on, right? So I'm leaving this PBR. I'm like, I hope no one don't see me because these IBOs are going to be quitting, right? Think about that. That was my car before ACN. And again, it's not to brag and be materialistic but for me, I like cars. I'm just being honest with you. I've been able to drive every dream car. I've been able to own every dream car that I've always wanted. And these are my cars because of ACN today. And but here's the #1 thing that this business has given me, is freedom. today just having a lifestyle of freedom. Every single one of these images were either taken by myself or they were taken by my wife. Look how beautiful that sunset is there. Think about that. That was in the Maldives. Think about how beautiful that view is there. That was in Ecuador, South America. And I've been able to travel the world because of this business. And I promise you, besides all the money, besides all of that, that is priceless. Not a single one of us, and I'll finish off with this. Not a single one of us today was born with a title. What do I mean by this? Today, this is Mark, the doctor. This is so-and-so, the taxi driver. This is so-and-so, the teacher. Not a single one of us was born with a title. Listen, when your mother delivered you, she didn't deliver you and they said, right, this is Rani. Her employee number is 1646480. Not a single person said that. It's the reality. Every single one of us were born what? Free. Why can't we die free? Why can't we live life being free? For me, that's what ACN is all about. It's about freedom. But here's the reality, guys. Nothing free comes free. Everything free. When a company is doing a buy one, get one free offer, do you know why they're doing it? They're doing it because that stock, they want to get rid of it. That's why. They're not doing it because they like you and they know you like chocolate digestive biscuits, so they just put it, buy one, get one free. Oh. They do it because why? There's a reason. There's a commercial thinking behind it. So here's the point I'm trying to make. For you to become free in your life, it will take hard work. It will take time. It will take dedication. It will take focus. Trust me. But I promise you, this will be so worth it. And right now in Holland, every single one of you are just getting started. You know, we've got some great things coming. ACN NEXT GEN. You got a phenomenal partnership. I mean, think about this. Look, I mean, no word of a lie. I was speaking to Sam. He came from Norway to build in Holland. And I said, why are you here? I didn't even know he was here. I mean, I had Danny told me just before, he said, hey, you know, there's an RVP in your group. That's it. Think about this. And I'm not saying this to brag. He's a regional vice president. Sam, how long did it take you to become RVP?
Almost
11 months. Do you know he's on my 31st level? I had no idea. Right? Think about this. Someone introduced someone that 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 quit, that someone that quit, that someone that quit, someone that bam, that led to him. You never know where your business can go. You know, I asked him, I said, why are you here? You know, he said, guess what's going on here? I said, what? He said, energy is 4 points. I'm about to break a TC here. Think about this, guys. That's the opportunity. Don't let someone who doesn't live in Holland come to Holland and do the things that you're complaining about. 4 points, energy service. Everyone needs energy. Don't let this go by. And I promise you, I speak to the founders every time. You know, the leaders in the room, they speak to the founders every time. What they're about to do in Holland in the next coming weeks and months and years is going to blow your mind. So don't let this train go by. I sincerely mean it. Position yourself right now. The timing has never been better. We know the world's population is going up. We know unemployment is going up. We know people that need opportunity is going up. We know this. Time yourself and position yourself right now to be in the best growth ever of this country's history. So ladies and gents, thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute Please help me welcome back our hosts.
Dames en heren, nog één keer een heel groot applaus voor Ahmed Mukhtar.